Ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
Welcome to the playground for STEM and Story Saturdays. Come right this way for this incredible day.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is so nice to have everyone here. I don't know about you guys, but when I woke up early and I was driving into work and I stepped outside of my house, it was so incredibly windy. Leaves were flying everywhere, and I knew fall was here. Well, enough about that. And I have to say, we've had one busy month so far, and looking ahead, and today I'm very excited to get to meet and visit with our guests, but that will be in just a moment. But first, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. So if you guys have any questions at all for our guests that's here today, please go ahead and ask in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Excuse me. Sarah's going to talk about some really cool, fascinating about recycling and all of that information. I know we got to recycle some t-shirts the other day, but today we're going to take it a step further and we're going to ask the expert. Without further ado, I would love to introduce to you today Sarah Borzo, who is the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Metro Waste Authority. And welcome, Sarah. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you. Now, you gave me that big fancy title of Education and Outreach Coordinator, but basically I'm just a teacher for Metro Waste Authority. And so it's really exciting to get to talk to people about all of the things that we handle here at this agency. So let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. Are you seeing my screen now?
We are.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so the Metro Waste Authority basically just handles where your stuff goes when you are finished with it. So I did want you to know what Metro Waste Authority is. We handle your recycling, your trash, even things like yard waste, but most people don't know that we also do a lot to help protect the environment and to educate people about the environment and about garbage and recycling. A lot of times we get confused for the people who come pick up the garbage from houses and businesses, but that's not who we are. We just deal with the garbage and the recycling once the garbage and recycling trucks have picked it up. So that big question is, when we say that we throw something away, where does it go? And one of the big places it can go is something called a landfill. And Metro Waste Authority actually has 2 landfills, and one of them, Metro Park East, is the biggest privately owned landfill in Iowa, and it is huge. So I wanted you to kind of experience what that place is like by playing some videos so you can have some sense of just how busy it is, even by how it sounds. Are you able to hear those sounds?
We are not.
Okay, let me go back really quick then. Sometimes you have to hit a special button.
Yes, the button that I always forget.
Yes.
Yep. So do I. Share computer sound.
There you go.
Okay, now let's try. Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds really busy, and it is. There's usually about 4 to 7 different big giant machines who are driving all over all of this trash that dump trucks from all around Des Moines are bringing into the landfill. And so it's really, really busy. But then there's also a bunch of birds that you can hear kind of cawing in the background. And that's because landfills attract seagulls, because when we throw things away, a lot of times there's food that seagulls really want to eat. So it's kind of like a buffet for them that just never ends.
And a seagull's a big white bird, isn't it?
Yes.
A nice white bird.
Yes, a gigantic white bird. And when you're up close, they are kind of terrifying because they do a lot of swooping and you can hear their wings flapping and they are just swarming the ground and in the air. So that's a very common sound and experience to have at the landfill. Now, the vehicles that are going over all of this kind of sea of garbage, their job is to get it really flat, kind of like a pancake. And so when the trucks drop the garbage, it's like a hill. But when the dozers and the compactors, the vehicles that drive over them, when they drive over them enough times, it gets flat like a pancake. So we call it the pancake method. And I also wanted you to hear what one of these compactors sounds like up close, because I think it also helps to understand how it's moving. What you're hearing is a machine that's moving really, really slowly down pieces of garbage. The most time it drives over garbage, the cool about this machine is that it has the tires I've ever experienced, and those not fall as it's trying to go over. In front of it, it has a big metal scoop. It just pushes the garbage around so they can organize it. Because really the goal is to fit as much garbage as it really, really tight. Now, when it's all full,
I have to say, Sarah,
dirt. It's going to be a really tall hill, but they're going to cover it up with like 12 feet of dirt and a layer of plastic so that the garbage can't get out. And then eventually they'll plant like grasses and trees and flowers, and it attracts butterflies and bees. I know that you've been talking about monarchs. We have monarchs all over these hills. Because when you would visit here, you'd have no idea that it used to be an active landfill. And so I also wanted you to hear that because it's a very peaceful experience. So here, it's quiet. We can just hear that there's some insects, there's some tall grasses blowing. At the very bottom of the hill, there's a wetland area where there's going to be like fish and frogs and turtles. And you would just never know that that area used to have, bulldozers going all over it and trucks dropping off all the garbage. So our goal is to put less stuff in that landfill so that we can, have more space that has never had garbage in it before. And the big way that we can do that personally is by recycling. It's a big deal. So recycling, we can recycle 4 main categories: glass, plastic, paper, and metal. And there's a couple quick rules that help us know what to recycle, and then we can see what happens with it. Paper is a nice, easy one because pretty much all paper can be recycled. There's just a few exceptions. So newspapers, notebook paper, cardboard, magazines, junk mail, wrapping paper, all of that stuff can go into the recycling. The paper that can't go into the recycling usually has a texture. If you feel it, it'll feel scratchy or gritty. So like sandpaper or paper that might have glitter on it, if it has that rough texture, it's a good sign that it needs to go into the garbage. Most of the metal that we recycle comes from the kitchen, and it's things like soup cans, food cans, soda cans. All of those things are really valuable and they can get recycled and turned into new things. But some metal things can't be recycled. Like you can't recycle a metal fork that you're done with. You can't recycle the bendable, kind of flexible metal things that used to hold like a pie or a lasagna. You can reuse those things, but you can't put them in the recycling. Again, glass, almost all of it can be recycled, like jars and bottles, but we can't recycle glass that is broken or that is being used to make like cups or plates or bowls. And the big one, plastic. Whew, this is the one we always have a lot of confusion about. But plastic is actually a really easy thing to decide, even though different plastics feel different ways. And if you feel at the bottom, a lot of times there's different numbers stamped into them. There's just one simple question you have to ask, and that is, does it have a twist lid? Because when it comes to recycling plastics, we just do the twist. So if you can twist the lid off of something that's plastic, it is recyclable once you've cleaned it. It doesn't matter if it's a soft plastic or a hard plastic, if it had detergent, like for the washing machine, or lotion, or a drink. If it has a twisty lid, it can be recycled. Now, that means there's a whole lot of plastics that can't be recycled right now. Like if it has a click-on lid, sometimes the things that like Oreos come in, or like cookies from the bakery or fruit, it's a really shiny kind of brittle plastic. Those are called clamshells. They can't be recycled. Plastic toys, plastic straws, Ziploc bags, styrofoam. Those are all plastics that we wish we could recycle, but for now, there's just not a good process for it. So they have to go in the garbage. So what happens next with your recycling once it leaves the house is the truck takes it to a factory, basically, where it gets sorted. And that is a crazy process. So there's a ton of machines and a ton of people working. And the machines are mostly conveyor belts, like if they have at the grocery store that your food like goes closer to the checker. But these conveyor belts are moving recycling past all these people and machines so that it can get sorted. And again, I'm going to play a quick little clip so that you have a sense of what it might be like inside that facility. So what you're hearing is this large conveyor belt that's dropping off kind of piles of different things in their recycling bins. But about recycling, sometimes they put in things that really shouldn't have been there. So if there's a row of workers who are trying to find stuff that shouldn't be in the recycling bin, like dirty diapers. The other day they told me about a bowling ball and a toilet seat cover. They're kind of funny things to put in the recycling bin. But they're just trying to find things that don't belong and get them sorted out. Then when they're done, teams do their job and they sort the recycling into different piles, and they're paper piles, metal piles, plastic piles, and then they get to sell. Companies want to buy recycled materials so they can turn them into something new. So just like at the landfill, the recycling plant tries to smash similar things together as tight as possible into giant cubes this time. Instead of a flat pancake, we want big, gigantic cubes. And then different companies will say, I want to buy 10 of those giant cubes of aluminum cans, and then they'll turn them into new aluminum cans. And what's really cool about that, when you have like a fizzy water or a soda and you recycle the can, it's usually back on the shelf with a new drink in it within 30 days. It doesn't take them very long at all to recycle those items and turn them into something new. So with plastic, different types of plastic end up becoming different things. Hard plastic that has a little bit of a texture to it, it's really strong. So they'll maybe turn it into something like a bucket, or even chairs at like a baseball stadium. Plastic water bottles have a very different feel. They're kind of squishy and thin, and you can crumple them up. They become things like backpacks or carpet or even clothes. A lot of companies can turn water bottles into cozy clothes like fleece jackets. And the most valuable recyclable right now is the milk jug. That's the one that gets the most money, that people are really excited to buy. They turn those into things like outdoor furniture or playground equipment or brand new milk jugs. So when we're figuring out where to throw things, we just all play a part in making sure that our waste goes to the right place. And there's this quote that says, there's no such thing as a way. When we throw anything away, it must go somewhere. So we just have to make sure that we get our waste off on the right path so that if it can be reused, it will be, and only the stuff that has no more value to us goes to the landfill. So that's a quick overview of what happens to your waste when you're done with it. And now if you have questions, I'd love to try to answer them. Sometimes recycling and garbage is such a big topic. People ask questions that stump me, but I can do my best.
I have to say, I have learned so much just sitting here with you in just a few minutes, Sarah, that I never even, and actually I'm looking over at Sarah, who is kind of our producer of this program today. And her eyes are just exploding with, what? Wow, I never knew that. Within 30 days that you can take and plastic and then convert it and then have it back on the shelf within 30 days?
Well, that's for the aluminum. The
Oh,
plastic,
the aluminum cans, okay.
yes, the plastic takes a little longer, but they are very efficient with their cans, and that's because they are 100% recyclable. So a can 100% be used right over again. Plastic, they have to turn it into pellets first and then go through a whole process.
And I think I've seen where you have those big, huge cubes that are, you know, whether I on TV or whatnot, and so they purchase those and then reuse those cubes then. I never realized that either.
Yep.
It's do you like the reusable water bottles?
Oh yes, I love reusable water bottles. I can't even remember the last time I used a disposable one, because there also are statistics that say even though water bottles are 100% recyclable, like they should go into the recycling bin, only about 30% of them do. So that's a scary statistic to me.
It is the scariest. And and here's what really, you being here today is very impactful, because you're teaching all of us new information, well, not new information, but information that we want to just scream from the mountaintops, you know, all of this information. But it's just amazing. I do notice where people do have, you know, drinking out of the water, you know, drinking their water out of the plastic container. I think, oh, let's recycle that. But maybe, you know, today I'm going to make a very a big decision and continue to do that, drinking out of that reusable water bottle and kind of making, and you know what, Sarah, how about this, making other people accountable at the same time, and maybe challenging other people to do those things.
I think that is a great idea. And it's a lot of times not even just making sure your waste ends up in the right place, but also making choices like that can really help preserve our environment. And I think about things like straws. I love to drink out of a straw, but I have the choice to buy a pack of 500, use them once and throw them out straws, or a pack of 6 reusable straws. And so I just make the reusable choice.
I think that's great. I have learned so much today. Do we have any questions at all today? And you know what, here's a funny thing is about a question. It always comes when we leave the person. You notice that? Like we'll be driving or going to bed tonight or something and think, I should have asked Sarah that question. Well, you know what, we're talking about that. If questions do come up after this, feel free to email me, and then I'll correspond with Sarah and make sure that your questions do get answered, because they are important to find out the answers to your questions.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, luckily we're just easily communicating. So I would happily answer absolutely anything, anytime it comes up.
I have to say, when I extended the invite for you to be a part of this day, I was thrilled to pieces when you did respond back that you would come and do this today with us. So I learned a lot. And I cannot tell you how much we are grateful for you being here today. And do you have any questions for us?
Oh man, questions. Well, now I'm on the spot. I can't think of a question on the spot.
That's all right. I don't know why I said that. We're in the question mode right now. Well, Anyway, Sarah, I applaud you today, being here today, and we're just going to skip over and do a little craft activity with our kiddos. You're welcome to stick around and stay, or head another direction and do your thing. It's completely
I would love to see the craft, so I'm going to stick around to experience the craft.
So here I have to laugh, because when you're talking about plastics and being recycling the plastics and all of that, I was thinking in my head, wait a minute, can I show this? Can I do this craft with these kids? Because I don't know if it's recent, but here's the thing, it's reusable.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that is kind of the focus point of we're going to reuse what we have.
Right,
So
and anything we can do that we call it diversion, that keeps things out of the landfill is great. Whether it's reusing it or repurposing it or recycling it, all of those are awesome things to do.
well, today we're going to reuse a plant holder. So everyone's probably wondering why I have this huge, gorgeous, colorful caterpillar that, I mean, I think it's about 3 feet long, full of color, but we're going to get to that. But you guys have received a packet in the mail. For those that are part of this webinar, have received a packet in the mail, and your packet contains a planter holder, which is plastic that we're reusing it. And you received several of these beads in the mail. So here I'm thinking, okay, is this okay? But what it is, these are all kind of they're plastic beads. And what it is, it's a butterfly feeder. And you can also turn it into a little bit of a bird feeder as well. But what you've received is you have some wire that goes with it. And you've added, I'm going to take it off this branch over here. But everything's kind of been prepped for you, so you can go ahead and go through the craft activity pretty easily. But it has the attached wires to each. There's 4 different sides that have been clipped out, so you have an open circle. Kind of creates balance. And then we just add these little fun, colorful beads to each side. And then you find a twig, and then inside of it, since you're going to be feeding these beautiful butterflies, you can put little chopped fruit, a little bit of applesauce, whatever you think that they would like. Even leftover, fruit dessert or something, put inside of this. I do recommend adding a little bit of a drain hole at the bottom so the water comes out of it. And then find a nice non-windy spot, a spot that maybe isn't as windy, and stick it on that twig, and then you'll have birds possibly come. Even for winter time, you can put this out there too. So I'm going to stick this up here. But you know what? I do want to talk to you real quick. And Sarah did talk to us about how, recycling, taking material that is not usable, or then we make it usable. And I want to talk to you about the monarch butterfly just really quick. Some neat things that I've learned is that a monarch butterfly starts out as it's a caterpillar. It is born on milkweed, and then within 1 month, it turns into a gorgeous butterfly. And then I love this. So what happens is it makes a change. So it's kind of like what Sarah was talking about, how you can change plastic and make it into something new. So that's what a caterpillar does. It turns into a monarch butterfly. But I have a very cute and fun story. So several years ago, I was went on like a nature walk, and we were tagging these monarch butterflies. And so we tagged these monarch butterflies to watch and see where they would go. Well, they had a long journey, because these monarch butterflies, they travel and they go all the way to Mexico. They fly 1,800 miles. And I just think that is crazy amazing. But one butterfly actually made the journey. So they were tagged. We got a call within a month and a half that that butterfly actually made it all the way to Mexico. Isn't that cool? That it's just amazing to me. But it just shows you how much in our life that recycling happens in nature, and how important it is that we take care of our planet. And Sarah today has really talked a lot about different things, and I appreciate all the sounds and different effects that you had today. And I want to also remind you, in closing and wrapping everything up and looking ahead, on November 9th, we have another guest that's going to be joining us, and Amanda from the Des Moines Symphony. So we're going to be doing a art and music class, or a session together. So that's going to be so much fun. And then on November 21st, we're going to be creating cinnamon salt dough ornaments. So you can put them on your your Thanksgiving tree branch that we made last year, or you can put them, use them for your Christmas tree, or give them as a gift. But we're going to be working on that. There's a little science behind that, of course. And then we have our guest with us that's going to be joining us, and her name's Ellie, and she was with us for the summer reading program, so she's going to be here for that special event. And most importantly, we thank you so much for being here today, Sarah. We learned so much from you. And until next time, please go visit our iowalibrary.blog for further information. If you have questions for Sarah, don't hesitate to reach out. Anyway, have a great day. And thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.